some stuff for a couple minutes if anybody wants to join in. And there we are. Looks like we are live, ladies and gentlemen, live on YouTube. This is gonna be pretty nice because we can just upload this as a video. I won't even have to edit this bad boy. Give Dill the day off. There you go, kid. You can just tune into this afterwards. But there we go. All right. You guys ready to get into this?
Hold on, I got one more lineup.
Very good. We can probably wait a couple minutes, see if any of our fans want to join into the live stream before we get talking about this week of college football. Can't actually get too excited because there's not really that many big games coming up, but what are you going to do? I'm going to pull up the chat room on the side. If anybody wants to talk to me about my fab bids, we can talk about them. Talk about my waiver pickups. Anybody, come at me in the chat. I'm ready. All right.
You think they will?
I hope so.
Or are they scared?
Oh, they're way too scared. Nobody wants to come at me. They know I'm right. My biggest fans coming after me. What are you gonna do? All right, you guys ready to get into this? All right.
Let's get into it.
All right, everybody. Welcome to the live version. I guess this would be episode like 5 or so about the College Format Podcast. This is a little side project of the All Formats podcast where we talk strictly about college football. This week, kind of another down week for college football. Not a lot of big matchups. Not a lot of highly ranked schools going up against each other, but if you're the typical dynasty fantasy football player, you don't really care about that anyways. We just want to talk about these top prospects, and these guys are going to be coming out in this stacked 2023 class that I hope you got all your picks for. But we're not going to kind of waste any time. I don't have anything to really start it off. It's going to be nice this week. I'm going to be able to sit down on my couch, watch some college football. Last couple of weeks wasn't able to do that, but I'm really excited this week just to kind of relax, watch some games, just sit on the couch and really not do nothing for a little bit. But how you guys doing today? We just got done finishing the Start Sits podcast for the All Formats section. So Sit starts for week 2 of the NFL. Check it out. Any of your podcasting platforms. That bad boy is up currently as we are talking right now. So tune into that. See how upset David got about the old fab bidding part about dynasty football. But how you guys doing today? You guys excited to get into this one?
Doing good.
Oh, doing great. Ready to get into some college football, especially coming off a Florida State W last night. And can't say that about some other squads here, but, Florida State.
Yeah, so speaking of Florida State, obviously they played the night before as we're recording this on a Friday night. They beat up, I guess they didn't really beat up, but they ended up beating Louisville. And Joe, I'm just going to kind of bring it right to you for this one, the podcast Big Florida State guy. Is Florida State, are they back? Are they a college football team now?
Here's the thing, I'll be honest. They're not fully back yet, but they're on their way. And that's the key. All right. They've been playing well. They finally got some recruiting that we love, the Mike Norvell kid. So I think that's good. The way a certain other school has been playing, we're not going to name names. We don't do that. But give it a year or two. They're going to replace this school as a top 12 team that doesn't really belong in the college football playoff anyway. If you watched any of the game, Jordan Travis came out the gate hot. I think he completed his first 11 passes, 2 touchdowns. He got injured. They had to bring in the backup. But, bringing the backup quarterback on the road in the ACC and still get the win, that's a sign that they're on the way back. So while they might not win the ACC this year, don't discount them. They could make some noise and make some people angry.
Yeah, that's definitely a sign of a good football team. Next man up, person lower on the depth chart, able to come into the game and still produce. That's what you're looking for with these actual football teams in general. But yeah, we're gonna get into the other guys' football team a little bit later, but so kind of sliding right into some of the games and the matchups I want to talk about for this week in college football. The first one I have up here is Sean Tucker and Syracuse played Purdue this week, and I'm really excited about this matchup. It's going to be a good one for Sean Tucker to kind of show himself against an actual bigger college football team. Purdue's not the best, but they're a pretty solid team in the Big Ten, and it's going to be really good for Sean Tucker to kind of show his skills against like a proven college football team. I think this is going to be a game where you kind of go back and watch the tape on later on in the season as you're kind of scouting your 23 running backs. This is going to be a good one that you can kind of tune into later, see him against an actual good matchup. But I'm excited to watch Sean Tucker. Hopefully he shows out against Purdue and kind of moves himself up some draft boards, because I do like me some Sean Tucker in this 23 class. If you want to see my write-up on him, it'd be in the allformats.net. We did a running back on pretty much write-up on most of these running backs in the 23 class. But yeah, excited to watch that matchup. And also this Charlie Jones for Purdue, wide receiver. He's having some huge first 2 weeks at Purdue. I don't know how much of he is as like a NFL prospect, but college side, this kid's pretty good. He's putting up some big numbers. So what are you guys excited to watch in this Sean Tucker versus Charlie Jones matchup? Syracuse versus Purdue.
Go ahead, David. I know you got some Charlie Jones stuff to say.
He's not an NFL guy, CFF. Sean Tucker's NFL. He's going to do good. I mean, there's not much more you can say about Sean Tucker. If you haven't watched him, watch him. He'll be one of the top 23 backs after probably the first 2 or 3 that are up there. But nothing wrong with Charlie Jones, right? There's a room for Wes Welkers out there everywhere. There just should not be, or even Cole Beasley's. They just should not be on your dynasty rosters.
Wow. The Sean Tucker thing, I am excited to see him play.
Ooh, we lost you. That's tough, Joe's been kind of dealing with some audio issues.
His point, he was going to say that he loved Charlie Jones, was going to draft him in the first round.
Huge Charlie Jones guy, yeah.
So we didn't need to hear that
anyway. Trade your 2024 first for Charlie Jones.
I'm not going to say that. I was not going to say that. I'm just going to say Purdue lost their linebacker. They lost a big piece of that defense. So Sean Tucker should go off today. If he doesn't, do we question him?
No.
I wouldn't say question him. No,
it's one game. It's by the way, this is a 12 o'clock game for you early birds.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to watch it,
and then trade your 24 first for Charlie Jones.
Just one more quick question I want to ask you guys. So, where is Sean Tucker right now for you in your 23? We'll go strictly just running back rankings. Obviously, we got our Bijan and we have our Jahmyr Gibbs. So where does he fall kind of after that for you guys? Go ahead.
I'm not going to answer this. Yeah, I can't answer this because I'm not the obvious Gibbs at 2 guy.
Okay.
He probably slots in there at 3. I mean, the 3 through 6 are going to be interchangeable. But right now, without any evaluations past this year, he's probably running back 3.
3 through 6. Go, David.
Evans. So Tucker, Evans. You put me on a spot here.
Where's Bigsby falling at? He's probably like 5 for me, 6 maybe.
Yeah, I would put Bigsby. I'd probably put Bigsby at 4.
Fair. So okay. Tucker, Bigsby, Evans.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. We gotta be careful with Evans though.
Yeah.
Because there's a certain freshman that
stealing some touches from him.
Yeah, so that's a little concern. I still think that he'll be in that mix just off of his NFL size though.
Yeah. I will get in that.
And you kind of noticed no one was putting Deuce Vaughn in there, by the way. I don't know who was doing that.
Tiny dude. I thought I'd mention him last week. No, we didn't mention him at all. I thought it'd be fun. Get to see your guys' reactions to him.
Hey, small people need love too, right?
Yeah. Speaking of small people, Marvin Mims versus Nebraska this week. Oklahoma wide receiver Marvin Mims. He's having some pretty good first couple weeks. He's a 23 NFL prospect. He's kind of, I think David talked about him on the last podcast, kind of mentioned him having some pretty good games, but he kind of reminds me a lot of like the Marquise Brown type kind of wide receiver, speedster, skinny, kind of smaller, but kid's pretty fast. I think he's going to be probably like a second round ish pick right now in the NFL for wide receiver positions, but I'm excited to watch him against Nebraska. They just fired their head coach. That dude stinks. But yeah, so Myron Mims going to play against Nebraska. Any you guys want to talk about him at all?
Marvin Mims is 5'11". So I'm a little hesitant with him, even though I got plenty of C2C shares of him. I do agree he's probably in the second round range, but I just don't know how high I'm going to put him up with him being 5'11".
Yeah.
Hey, David, just so I'm clear, so from the last podcast, just so the listeners know, when you say second or third round, you're talking NFL draft, right? Not not our rookie drafts.
Not rookie drafts.
Okay.
No, you got it. I mean, the film watching, the landing spots, they're all going to determine that, as we've seen previously in our past rookie drafts. I would say he's probably an early second right now in Superflex.
Yeah. No, I just want to make sure because I know we're going to talk rookie drafts, probably stuff when we hit the off season. I don't want people coming back and like, well, you said he was a second then, but this is the NFL draft you're talking when you say
so.
That.
So when I do that, yes, I'm doing NFL, but right now I would say he is an early second Superflex.
Okay. Yeah. I like Mims. The kid's talented, and there's definitely a really good role for players of his caliber at the next level. So whether it's second round NFL, second round dynasty drafts, Mims is going to be a name that people are going to be watching in that second group of receivers. Everyone knows who those top 3, maybe 4 are. You can borrow the Quentin Johnsons you want. I'm staying away. But when we get to that next tier, he'll be at the top or near the top of that next tier. And that's when we should see him start going off the NFL and the fantasy draft boards.
Yeah, I like that a lot. He's probably in my tier 2-ish for those wide receivers like you mentioned before. Don't know exactly where he falls, but we'll figure that out at the end of the year. Moving on. So J.J. McCarthy, quarterback from Michigan, is going to get the start this week against Connecticut. They're another huge favorite. I think Michigan has like 3, I think right in a row, just,
that schedule.
Yeah, like really soft. I think they're like 47.5 point favorites against Connecticut this week. So they should stomp them. McCarthy should have a big game, but I know David's a big fan of him. I'm kind of excited just to kind of see what we were all expecting. He was a 5-star recruit coming out of high school, I believe, redshirt freshman, sophomore, so second year in college. He's going to get a chance to kind of show out this week against Connecticut, and I'm really excited to watch that game. You excited for this one too, David?
I am. He'll definitely have a very good game, in my opinion. I mean, it's hard when you're out there playing Lancaster, Pennsylvania high school teams. But yeah, definitely a big McCarthy guy. I think he's going to be one of the high-end quarterbacks in 2024.
Yeah, that's bad form. Don't take a shot at Lancaster County. I'm not super excited about this game strictly because it's Connecticut. But I do like that this is his last tune-up because look at that schedule. I think the next 5 is conference games. So he's getting into conference play. Let's talk more JJ next week when he gets into that Big Ten meaty schedule. Yeah, I can serve up some cupcakes. At least I know one Big Ten school that's doing it right. They're playing the Purdue's and then they get the cupcakes in Ohio. Then they go to Auburn and they get cupcakes in Central Michigan. They get those guys. Now, you get this guy 3 cupcakes and then he thinks he's the best thing ever. Against conference play, it could be a different story. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm just saying, this is his final tune-up. This is his final preseason game. Next week, I really want to get into J.J. McCarthy when they start conference play.
Another one for that game or in moving forward for Michigan is Donovan Edwards. He's about to take that job.
I told you guys that week 1.
Mm-hmm.
That's the guy I wanted to see. I didn't want to see Corum. I wanted to see Edwards. It should be over.
Yeah, I think Corum's going to slowly kind of lose touches throughout the season. I think they'll probably still split carries for most of the year because that's kind of how Michigan runs their offense. But I think it's slowly going to turn into like Blake Corum and then switching over to Donovan Edwards taking probably most of the touches there.
So a lot of people hate on Michigan. I get it. I'm a Notre Dame fan too. I don't like Michigan. I'm going to do a hot take. They could win the Big Ten.
Over Ohio State?
Over Ohio State.
I think they got a chance. If McCarthy shows out this year, I think they definitely have a chance.
Yeah.
Kids got to play really
The team's
well.
not bad.
Yeah, they got a pretty solid team. But moving on here, talking about a team that really might not have been too solid so far the past first couple of weeks. Notre Dame. They got a chance, I guess, to bounce back against Cal. I think I said the exact same thing last week. And then they got upset again by some MAC school. So, David, I'm going to let you kind of tune this in. What do you think about Notre Dame this week against Cal?
It's a loss. If you guys have not done yourselves a favor, go Google Drew Pine. Looks like a kid that you probably went to high school with and sat next to a math class.
Drew Pine.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. It's like as bad as that goofy Miami Dolphins quarterback. Head coach.
Oh, he is. He is funny looking.
Yes, and he's small. They're not going to win a lot of games this year. You gotta have a quarterback in football and it's basically at any level nowadays. We're talking high school, college, NFL. You gotta have a quarterback, and they just don't have it.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah,
I'm looking at 4 to 5 wins, maybe, and 5 may even be on the high end.
Yeah, I'm kind of not excited for Michael Mayer. I really wanted to kind of watch him this year and kind of have him show himself out, but it looks like this QB situation might hurt his draft stock at the end of the day because he's probably not going to produce much at Notre Dame. So, do you think if he?
I'm sorry, I didn't mean Junior. It's not just it's just not the quarterback situation for me, man.
The whole team.
It's him.
Yeah,
he put on too much weight. He's too big. He's not going to be athletic. His draft stock. I'm not taking him in the first round, even tight end premium in Dynasty. It's just he's too big.
Yeah,
I don't know who to. I think we discussed it last time. I don't know who gave him the advice to put on that weight. But he's got to drop it. Mm-hmm. And then even then he just may not have been athletic. Period. In today's NFL, you got to be we want the Kyle Pitts. Even Pat Fryermuth's athletic. You got to be athletic as a tight end. It's not what the tight ends were 10 years ago, where they were like these blocking big plotter tight ends that can't run. And it's probably not fair to him to really say what he can run because we don't know his 40 time, but his film time is looking at him on film. He's not going to be fast.
Probably like a 4.6 guy.
Someone gave me a good comparison this week of him, Kyle Rudolph. And if he's Kyle Rudolph, do we want him on our dynasty rosters? Probably not.
Check Sleeper to see what his percentage owned is right now. But before you get further on to the Mayer, David, I wanted to say, I feel like you're reading my notes because the question Junior posed, can they bounce back against Cal? A guy at my job, a guy I work with, he's taking Notre Dame, said they're going to win by 20 today. Matter of fact, that's his bet of the day. Notre Dame
by 20. Has he watched their offense? They haven't put up more than 10 points, I don't think.
Yeah, he's a straight criminal. So my answer is no, they don't bounce back against Cal. I honestly think Notre Dame needs to call it a season and regroup and try to come back stronger. Because look at it, after Cal, it's Drake May.
Yeah.
After Drake May, it's an undefeated BYU team. And then after that, you get that rival game with Stanford, even though Stanford didn't look that good. I'm just saying, realistically, they could be 0-6 at that point. And I'm not trying to crap on your team, David, at all. I'm just saying, realistically, looking at that, it could be that way.
That's tough.
So to add, just jump in to add to that. I kind of agree with all of that. One point I will point out though is UNC's defense is going to allow them to score points. So, a high school team can score points against that defense. So they may have a shot there, but it's going to be tough. It's going to be. I looked at the schedule. You can't just pick an automatic win. You just can't do it.
No.
So.
All right, so moving on here. The next game we're going to talk about is Ole Miss plays Georgia Tech. I expect this game to be a pretty high-scoring game. Ole Miss's offense has been running pretty good the past couple of weeks, and Georgia Tech, they kind of run that like read option kind of fast QB, but they run like a high pace scoring offense. So this should be a high scoring game to kind of watch if you actually have it on your TVs. But I kind of want to talk about this running back situation for Ole Miss. We kind of talked about it a little bit earlier with the Zach Evans, but he's kind of losing touches to this freshman running back Judkins. So how do you guys feel about the situation? I'm obviously I guess the podcast big Zach Evans guy. I think he's going to be really good in the NFL. The kid's just super efficient. I think he still runs really well. But how do you guys feel about this freshman kid, Judkins, taking a bunch of carries from him?
So I like him. Joe put him on. Joe, you got to give Joe credit. He was the one mainly on him first.
Mm-hmm.
Got a lot of shares with him in our C2Cs. I like him, big body guy. I still think Evans will have a role enough to be still in the top 6 running backs going into next year's draft.
Okay, I'm fine with that. I mean, you guys know how I feel about him, so nothing to say. Evans is the top 7, 8 back next year. Sure, why not?
How high are you on Judkins then? If you're pretty low on Zach Evans, I guess Judkins probably way up your rankings, huh?
For the 25 class, like he's already. I had Singleton, Petaway, Trevante Citizen, and then Judkins. He's already at RB2.
Man, Trevante Citizen. That breaks my heart.
Yeah, that's tough.
Dang.
Hopefully, you got a couple years to figure it out, but yeah.
I'll be back, guys. I gotta go cry.
All right. I'm still going to stick with it. I still think Zach Evans is a really good running back. I think even if he kind of loses touches this season for Ole Miss, I think he'll even test very well at the combine. So I'm not too worried about his like NFL draft stock, but you would like to see him kind of just run that backfield in Ole Miss. If we're talking about just like perfect prospects, right? Exactly what you want out of your 23 running backs is for them to just kind of dominate the year before in college. But maybe we won't see that at Evans, but I still like him a lot. But speaking of 23 running back, Rasheen Ali, running back for Marshall, has returned to practice this week. I think the news is he'll at least play a little bit in the game. He's one of those kind of sleeper 23 RBs. He had a huge season last year for Marshall, playing in, I believe, the Sun Belt. Is that the Sun Belt in Marshall?
It is.
Yeah. So he kind of tore it up.
Thunder
there.
and Herd. Let's give them their props. The Thunder and Herd.
Thunder and Herd, baby. But yeah, so he was like the Saquon Barkley of the Sun Belt last year. So if he returns to form this year, I think he can kind of break out and kind of become like a household name at the running back position. But I'm excited to watch him play. Hopefully he gets a little bit of work this week. But how do you guys feel about Rasheen Ali from Marshall?
He's on my list to evaluate at some point, so I haven't got much tape into him. So I'll let you guys do the talking on him. This is just another guy where you guys have given me the name. Now I'll put him on the list, and you'll see me stealing shares of him and all the leagues we're in together. Thanks, by the way.
Oh, I got you.
Appreciate that.
That's what we're here for. I believe this was David. David gave me this name as well.
Yeah, I did. I'm in the middle. I did give this name. I'm in the middle though. I don't know if he's strictly CFF or NFL. I need to see more. I was going into this year hoping that I could see more. They would take me to the point that he was an NFL back. Good size. It's Marshall. We kind of have to see. It would have been great to see him against Notre Dame, but I guess any running back can run against Notre Dame, so that probably not a test.
They might have won by like 25. Ali was playing.
This guy Labrum, who was a former FSU running back, he was bagging groceries last year. He came in and put $150 on Notre Dame. So I mean, that would have been hard. But I don't think Ali plays this week though. I don't think I've seen that. I think he's at least a week or two away.
Yeah,
he is back at practice though.
Yeah, he's back at practice. Good sign. He had a leave of absence. I don't think it was really talked about much at all. But Yeah, really excited to watch him this week. But another guy I'm kind of excited to watch is Devin Leary for North Carolina State. Joe's kind of put me onto this guy, kind of. I don't know if I'm on him or anything yet, but he had a good week last week. He's going up against Texas Tech this week, so it should be a good matchup for him to kind of show himself against a little bit better competition. But Joe, how do you feel about Devin Leary this week against Texas Tech?
Oh, he just said he's going to take him number 1 overall in the Dynasty draft.
QB1 in 2023, Devin
class.
Leary.
Wow.
All right, guys. So awesome. If you have a late pick in the 2023 class, you might have to trade up to the 1-1 and take Devin Leary. QB1.
Has anyone ever told you guys how much I hate you both? Texas Tech, you remember week 1? Yeah, they gave up 30 points to Houston. Devin Leary's going to feast today. He's going to build off of last week's success and keep going. You might not be on him, but you can't not watch him. He's going to be must-watch TV now going forward, especially in the college football. Whether he translates that to NFL success, I love to see it. He's not going to jump up there and supplant Will Levis, but he's going to be talked about here in those third rounds, early third in the NFL draft maybe, and he's going to be worth a pick in your Superflex league. Hey, if people are drafting in their Superflex league, Sam Howells and Kenny Pickett's, they're going to draft Devin Leary if he goes in the third or even the fourth round. So start watching him now.
Sam Howells got him. What? I'm sorry. Go ahead, Junior. Go ahead.
Where they got him listed at? He's like 6 foot, right?
6'1". They got him listed at 6'1". We'll see what the real numbers come back.
Soft 6'1", maybe like 5'10" and a half.
Yeah, he's a Russell Wilson 6'1".
Go ahead, Dave.
I lost my train of thought there.
I'm not surprised.
And start thinking about his size.
No, I think he's more. I think he's more. I don't want to crush Joe's boy here. He's more CFF though. There's where I was gonna go. Hal was a 5th round pick, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And Hal probably had when the season started last year, they were saying he was a 1st round pick.
He's QB1.
Yeah, QB1.
Him and Spencer Rattler.
So, I'll be nice. Larry's a 6th round, and Larry's a 6th round NFL pick. A super flex beginning of 4th round rookie pick.
So for those of you that are out there live on the YouTube now, feel free to drop any questions or comments into the chat if you got some stuff you want us to discuss, because I'm no longer discussing anything David has to say.
2-man podcast, but I will still be talking to David. But moving on here, so there's a matchup I kind of want to talk about. I hate to throw out these names of guys I'm kind of high on, but this is a podcast where you kind of tune in to hear about who we like, and then you can watch it yourself like Joe does with all my players. But SMU plays Maryland this week. It's supposed to be a very high-scoring game. I think the total set at like 71.5 or something like that. So there should be a lot of offense in this game, SMU versus Maryland. But there's an SMU wide receiver I kind of want to talk to you guys about. I kind of came on to him a little slowly this year. He's had 2 big weeks, first 2 weeks of the season, but it is Rashee Rice, wide receiver for SMU. Danny Gray was a wide receiver at SMU last year, got drafted, I believe, was at the end of the 3rd round to San Francisco, or end of the 2nd round?
2nd round.
And the 2nd round to San Francisco. And they were kind of the 1A, 1B at this SMU offense last year. He had a pretty solid season, but these first couple of weeks, I think he has like 7-8 catches in both games, 100+ yards, touchdowns each week. But I kind of like him. He's got him listed about 6'1", a little skinny at like 180, 175, 180. But I kind of like him. He looks really good in that offense. And I'm it might be my sleeper wide receiver for this 23 class. He's a 4th-year senior, so he's like, a little older than what you would like, but I still like him a lot. And then the Maryland side, there's 2 wide receivers over there still. Raheem Jarrett kind of had a tough couple first weeks, so he's kind of been lower. I kind of been lowering my stock on him. And then that Dante Demas, I believe he's like one of the older prospects in his 23 class. He might even be like a redshirt senior, like a 5th-year guy, but he's got good size. He's got a chance of making the NFL. But how do you guys feel about these wide receivers? And did I put you guys both on this Rashee Rice guy? How do you guys feel about him?
You put me on the Rice. Taking notes.
Okay.
He's on the list now. I got some Demas shares in some of my C2Cs. I know David's going to come at Demas's age, and I won't argue with that. What's the kid Chicago drafted, Velus Jones or whatever?
Like
Similar
34,
style.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, I'm glad I'm not drafting Demas, but when he gets put on my NFL teams from C2C, I'll be fine with that. But I am going to try to tune into this game just to see what this Rice kid is all about. I've seen the numbers. He was on a list to go and dig into later on in the season. But you want me to get on him now? I'm getting on him now.
There you go.
So Rice is a senior. The history of the 4-year players on our dynasty rosters are not good. He is a prospect. He is someone you probably should watch. Someone that definitely will go in dynasty drafts. I just don't know. I don't think we're going to have much success with him on our rosters. I want to correct the Danny Gray thing. It was a late third junior, so I apologize for that. You had it right first.
Okay.
And then some more names. Maryland's roster is kind of sneaky. Jacob Copeland, like him at wide receiver. I think he is another 4th-year guy, though. These guys may be more CFS, but Antoine Littleton and Kobe McDonald at running back, and Raymond Brown, though, possibly could be NFL. He's a freshman. I don't know how much work he's getting, but he may get in late if you're watching that game.
No love for Tua's brother there in Maryland?
No.
No, yeah.
David hates Tua, so
the whole family. Hate Rice, the whole family.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Another game I want to talk about here. Me and David are still, I don't know how big we are of Anthony Richardson guys now, but early in the season we were, and I'm still interested to see him as a prospect. Obviously, with that week 2 performance against Kentucky, it was kind of tough, but he's got a chance to bounce back here. Florida plays USF. They're big favorites. I think they're like 25-point favorites in this game. So I just want to kind of see Anthony Richardson get back on track a little bit. Kind of show some progression, learn from his mistakes in the week before, and kind of learn how to counteract them and have a good game against USF here. But kind of just hoping he turns it around. I might not be tuning in this game, but I just kind of want to see Anthony Richardson play a little bit better this week and kind of show me something to where kind of justify my hype for him coming up into the season. How do you feel about him this week, David?
This is tough. I'm off Anthony Richardson.
No.
Yeah.
No. One game.
Yeah.
No, you said it.
So here's the thing I've said for a while about all quarterbacks. You can't teach them. You cannot. If a quarterback at this point in their careers cannot pass the ball, you can't teach a quarterback to throw the ball. It's very important. That's like the number one requirement is to be able to throw the ball. I was hoping that the first 2 games were against Cupcakes, though, or the first one game, because we're in week 3 now. I don't see it as a passer. Watching that full game, watching the rewatch, I kind of don't see it with Levis either. But I'm not going to be completely off him, and it hurts me because you guys know how much I talked up Anthony Richardson, but I do a lot of hot takes, but I have no problem admitting that I'm wrong. And I was wrong here. He can't throw the ball. Sure, he'll still probably be a super flex 1st round pick because maybe he's Jalen Hurts, right? Maybe he turns into a passer. Maybe. I'm not saying he is. I'm just saying maybe.
You could have at least said Malik Willis.
No, because remember when Hurts came in the league, he wasn't much of a passer either, though, man. So, and again, I'm not saying he is. I'm just throwing out and saying maybe. I don't think he's the athlete. I like his running style. He can run, obviously. I don't think he's the running style of Malik Willis. That's why I didn't go there. I think Malik Willis is more of a dynamic runner than him.
I can see that.
Yeah, I would agree with that too.
So I like him. I hope he turns it around. I hope he proves me wrong. But again, you're not teaching a quarterback how to throw the ball. You're not. That you can do that in junior high. Okay, you can do that in high school, possibly by your sophomore or junior year. But you better be able to throw the ball by your mid junior to senior year of high school. You're not teaching a quarterback that comes into college and he can't throw the ball. You can't teach him. It's too late.
I don't. Hey, you guys were the Richardson people. So my only notes I have for this game was like, hey, if he wants to get back into the top tier conversation, this is your window. How do you respond after a poor outing? Well, can you correct the mistakes you made? Like Junior said, do these intangibles still there? So I'm not like David completely off him, but how are you going to respond? Show me this.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm most likely trying to look for in this game, is just him to show some progression. And if he has a good game this week, this kind of shows you the off the field stuff that he could do. Hopefully he's kind of watching the tape from last week, learn from his mistakes, and then he can improve. But yeah, it's tough still back into Anthony Richardson, but hopefully he has a couple good weeks here and kind of turns it around. But excited to watch that one, hopefully.
Yeah. Hey, comments out there, Junior. People are loving your background better than ours, and I don't know why. I'm sure you'll talk about your background a little bit later here. But
hey, they are right. I did love that fly that just flew around your head. That's I love it.
I was trying not to just smack it because I didn't want to interrupt you guys talking, but it was right here.
It's like attacking you, man. That is a great background. I got to give you that.
You guys are terrible.
You guys are the
all right. Yeah, I know. It's only David. I wasn't even going to call it out.
I mean, the listeners, they saw it, so I might as well call it out.
Yeah, I got to talk about it, huh? All right. I was hoping everybody was looking at Joe while he was talking, but it looks like they weren't at all. But all right, a couple more games to talk about before we get into the quote-unquote big games for this week. Michigan State plays Washington, and I'm still just kind of want to see Jayden Reed play. I still like him as a prospect. He's kind of that newer style wide receiver that's a little bit smaller, a little bit quicker. I think he might turn into maybe just a slot guy in the NFL for your dynasty prospects. But I kind of like Jayden Reed for Michigan State. I believe, Joe, were you also kind of like a Jayden Reed guy? How do you feel about him this week against Washington?
So just like you guys still read my notes over here, so stop it. But I think he's improving his NFL stock weekly from that perspective of being a slot receiver. People are drafting guys knowing, hey, this is the role we're going to have for you. So the more he works in that role and performs better, his blocking's actually gotten a lot better for a little guy. So his name's not going to be sexy. He's not going to be the JSNs, the Addisons, or, your boy Booty. But I think when he gets taken in the late second, early third NFL draft, primarily to fill a slot role.
Oh, so he's taking Jayden Reed early in the dynasty draft.
Yeah. Man. Not just, he's the next Odell, huh?
Yeah.
This is my favorite bit ever. It's a great bit.
Man.
And speaking of the comments, Joe, they're saying Lord Hinkie has the best sound quality as well. It sounds like you're having some sound quality issues over there. So do you want to talk about that at all, or can you not because it keeps kind of cutting out? Oh yeah, it keeps cutting out. Oh, I'm sorry. You know what? They can if we want to, you can just kind of mute yourself for the rest of this pod. We'll figure it out the rest of it. All right, we should be good. But moving on here, last note before we get into the big games. I want to see this Texas offense play without Quinn Ewers. So Quinn Ewers got a shoulder injury last week playing against Alabama. Reports are he's going to be out, I believe, 4 to 6 weeks with that shoulder injury after he had MRI. So Hudson Card's going to be running this offense for a while. I just want to see how that offense still kind of rolls with Card. Really like my Xavier Worthy as a 24 wide receiver, and obviously Bijan's still there as a top 23 prospect probably still. But I kind of want to see that offense run. And then since your audio is actually working and you'll be able to talk back to me, are you excited to watch this Texas offense run itself without Quinn Ewers?
They're going to struggle.
You think?
Card's not good. That's going to be a struggle. Robinson's going to have to carry it. Some worthy sweeps. Card didn't look terrible. He's not going to be Quinn Ewers, and it's going to be a struggle.
The team that almost beat Alabama is going to struggle. Is that what you just said?
They're going to struggle on offense. Yes.
I do think the Texas defense.
What did they score after Ewers left? Did they score at all?
I was not watching the game. I was at the Penn State game.
But, I don't think I could be wrong.
Yeah. I know. I was kind of tuning into it, kind of keeping up with them on my phone, and it was kind of just a lower scoring game, kind of like the whole time. But
Now their defense could keep them in games, but at the end of the day, you got to score to win.
mm-hmm.
I was just asking. Alabama is the savior of the college football. So if a team that almost beat them and they're not, you're telling me they're not any, or they're not going to score points, then what does that say about Alabama? I guess is where I was going with that.
Mm-hmm.
Too early to tell.
Yeah.
It's only week 2. They're breaking in a lot of new pieces on the offensive side.
What is
I know we judge it week to week, but let's be careful making declarations until we get at least a further along. Alabama's going to be, I think it's an opinion, not a declaration. I think Alabama's going to be there when it's all said and done.
Oh, I'm just saying I don't. I mean, it's
Okay.
Alabama. It's Alabama. Even a 2-loss Alabama, they're going to put in because they're Alabama. But maybe they shouldn't be at that point. A lot of these Big Ten schools, like they'll put in a 2-loss Alabama over a 1-loss Ohio State, a 1-loss Michigan, a 1-loss Penn State. They will do that, and it will be a mistake.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for me, it's Georgia, and then like it's a tier down for me.
I would agree.
We're gonna talk to them. We're gonna talk about them a little bit later, but I think they've just shown that they're just a well-oiled machine down there in Georgia. So for me, I think Georgia's probably the team to beat in the country.
You like that Stetson Bennett a lot. I see you.
Big Stetson Bennett guy.
Okay.
Next Gardner Minshew. I'm just kidding. But okay, so we got a couple, like I said earlier, quote unquote bigger games, kind of for these prospects and just college football in general. What do I got here? 1, 2, 3. We got 5 games to talk about left. Penn State goes to Auburn to return after beating them at home last year in the whiteout game. Penn State, I think they're small favorites over Auburn. I think this is going to be a really tough matchup. I'm a little hesitant to kind of say Penn State's going to blow them out, but I'm not going to say that. Alar and Singleton had phenomenal games last week. Alar probably won't play him this week unless anything happens to Sean Clifford, but Clifford should be playing. Nick Singleton had game of his career so far. Obviously, he's only played like 2 games, but kid had 2 long touchdown runs. He's the real deal. So we don't really got to talk about him. But Tank Bigsby is going to be playing for Auburn this week. My guy over here, Joe Thomas, is a big Tank Bigsby guy. So how do you feel about him this week going against that Penn State defense, Joe? If you can. Maybe we'll come back to you later. So, David, anybody in this matchup you're excited to watch?
Before we do that, I think I heard Joe say something about at least a Big Ten team, or I think he was referencing to Penn State playing a good schedule so far.
Yeah, like how they would play like a good matchup and then like a cupcake and then like a...
They're also playing high school teams.
Auburn's a high school team?
So far. I mean, I don't like Auburn. I don't think they're very good at all. Purdue, I guess, was okay. That was a good first week matchup, but Ohio, I wouldn't call it. And in Central Michigan and in Northwest
Ohio, he said was their cupcake.
I said
good cupcake, good
Purdue,
game.
Ohio, Auburn, Central Michigan.
And now you got Central Michigan and even Northwestern.
Yeah, Northwestern stinks.
Yes. I mean, let's be careful on calling this schedule. At least it's not good. All right.
It's better. It's better than how Michigan started. Come on.
Yeah, Michigan's been like 50-point favorites for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
If Penn State's high school team, then Michigan opened with middle school teams.
Possibly.
Okay.
Yeah. So back to the matchup, though. I like in this game. I want to see Singleton get more of the carries. Is he a start yet in C2C? I think I put him in one of my lineups. Should he be a start yet?
Starting what, 2 running backs, a couple flexes.
Yeah.
I would say so.
Okay.
No, Franklin's tough with those rotations. You know,
but I don't know. If you believe in the talent, though, he's going to play the best running back, right? If Singleton's averaging like 8 yards a carry, I think he's going to see more touches. I think.
Yeah.
I do think this is a tougher matchup, though. I'm not off on this Auburn team. I think they're pretty solid. At least I don't think it's going to be a cupcake game, but Joe, since your audio is working and you're actually able to talk to us, do you want to talk a little bit about Bigsby
No.
No, not really.
His audio is a feature. It's like a nice YouTube or Zoom live feature, where you can cut in and out. It's good.
Yeah.
It's good.
We don't
I like
use them
that.
when we want them.
Yeah, I like it.
I like it a lot too.
No other
All right.
podcast has that.
Tune in next week to see if you can hear Joe Thomas actually talk on the podcast. All right. But we can move on here. Speaking of Georgia being the top team in the country, they're playing South Carolina this week. Another game where I think they're like 24, 25-point favorites. I almost made them my beta this week. If you follow us on our home Dynasty League, they were almost, I believe they were like 23.5-point favorites. I really like that number at 24, but now it's got juiced up to like 26.5, 27. So I pivoted to another game that we're going to talk about in a little bit, but I expect Georgia to stomp South Carolina again. I think they're the top team in the country. I think they're the team to beat. I think they should be the number one seed all the way up until the college football playoff, and then they're going to play, Michigan and Alabama. I think they're going to stomp them too. I think this Georgia team is a well-oiled machine. They got another really good combo of running back. Milton's kind of had an A year so far this year, so hopefully he can kind of turn it around and kind of show something. I think, in my opinion, if he doesn't really have a good year this year, he's just going to come back for his fourth year and then try and run it back again. But this Kenny McIntosh has really impressed me so far. If you read up on the 23 Part 2 running back class, I actually talked about him a little bit, and I wasn't too high on him. I kind of told you I need to see it this year out of Kenny McIntosh, and so far he showed me. So are you guys excited to watch? How do you feel about these Georgia running backs now that we've gotten like 2 weeks to kind of watch them play? Go ahead, David.
They're just guys.
Yeah.
They'll get drafted, sure, because they're running backs in fantasy dynasty. We need running backs.
James You're white.
NFL needs running back, exactly. They're not. They don't belong in the top 6 or even probably not even the first round of running dynasty NFL drafts. They're just guys.
Yeah, I believe we did. Didn't we do like a too early 2023 like mock draft? And I believe, David, you were kind of big on Kendall Milton.
Yeah, I was high on Milton, but I was wrong on that.
Yeah.
So about that draft, Richardson, Milton, and it was the Bama guy, right? It was
Jermaine Burton.
All of them I was wrong. You guys can ignore all 3 of those picks.
Didn't you just say it's early in the season?
Those guys have already answered the question.
What are you excited to watch in this game, Joe?
Who's the quarterback for South Carolina?
Terrible Spencer Rattler.
Then I'm not going to bother watching this game.
This game's going to be a blowout.
Move on.
Blowout. Now, I will say that the Georgia defense, I think everything you said, Junior, is correct, but I would put all of that the dominating comments that you're talking about Georgia towards the defense.
Oh, yeah.
I'm still not a huge believer in their offense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think speaking of their offense, obviously Brock Bowers is one of those top, I believe, 24 tight ends. Kid's having a great year, but tight end we were kind of hoping to see for Georgia was Eric Gilbert, and he's not traveling again for Georgia. Looks like he's still not ready to play. And also one of their, I guess, top wide receiver options, or I guess one of those that were a chance to be one of their top wide receiver options, Adonai Mitchell, is also not traveling to South Carolina, so they're going to be without a couple of, I guess, their top options there on the offense. So that's why I pivoted off them to be my bet for this week, but maybe someone else on the Georgia team kind of shows off and takes over a couple of touches. How do you guys feel about that big tight end for Georgia, Darnell Washington? Yeah, I believe, David, you're kind of off him. You said he was like too big. I think I kind of agree as well.
I mean, he's going to be a good left tackle.
Yeah.
I mean,
definitely an NFL football player. I just don't know if he's like a dynasty.
I can't see a 6'7" tight end. I can't see it.
Mm-hmm.
Could be wrong.
Kid tuning in the podcast a little bit late wants to hear our takes on the PSU versus Auburn game. I guess we'll kind of repeat ourselves because we don't. We
lost Joe's half of Joe's.
Yeah,
audio
we didn't.
Anyway.
Maybe Joe actually wants to give his takes on the game, but yeah, we were
no.
I think personally it's going to be a tough matchup for Penn State. I think the line's still only like 2.5. Penn State being the favorites. Going away to Auburn, I think is going to be tough. But I'm excited to watch it. I think I want Singleton to kind of get just 15 touches. In my personal opinion, I think that if you're talking about trying to win a football game, I think giving the best player on the field the ball more gives you a better chance to win games. So I kind of want to see Singleton get all those touches. And we didn't really talk about the wide receivers there for Penn State. Parker Washington is kind of
David hates the receivers, remember?
Yeah, Parker Washington is kind of playing himself out of a 23, I guess second round draft pick. He might even be a third rounder now. But Mitchell Tinsley, I'm still excited to watch. He had the touchdown catch in the last game against Ohio, but it should be a good matchup for him to kind of show off. I guess, Joe, I believe you were also a Mitchell Tinsley guy. How are you feeling about him going into this Auburn game? Still pretty solid.
He likes him still. He loves him still.
Yeah, we can translate.
Yeah.
No. I do like him. I think, but like, if we're talking Mitchell Tinsley this week versus Mitchell Tinsley's prospects for the future, like I'm going to see he's going to put up still do a solid season here at Penn State, but working on his game for the NFL level, I think he'll be a better option than Parker Washington on the NFL side. I know David hates all the receivers, but if you had a gun to your head, David, you take one of these guys in your dynasty fourth round, I'd say it'd be Tinsley over Parker.
Easily. I did not ever get the vaccination with Parker Washington. And there's a lot of Parker Washington love out there. Did not get it.
Yeah, and another guy I don't think we talked about before was the tight end, Theo Johnson. They're kind of hopeful that he plays this week. I still kind of like him as a prospect. I think he's athletic enough to kind of make it in the NFL. David is shaking his head that he is not. Is it because he's injury prone?
You cannot win with a player or get fantasy points if they're never on the field.
There it is.
Hold on. There's a guy I work with, Toby Theo Johnson, was it. He was the NFL prospect from this tight end room.
You got other people at work that you discuss stuff with?
Do I need to?
You probably should choose another person.
Okay.
All right, moving on to our next game, which is going to be, this is going to be the first time, a live betting segment on the College Format Podcast. If you guys are in our home dynasty league, I do a weekly Saturday pick of college football, my favorite bet of the week, and this game includes it. So Mississippi State plays LSU, and I think this is going to be a high-scoring game. My favorite bet of this week is the Mississippi State LSU over. It's set right now at 52.5. I like the Mississippi State's offense. I think is a well-oiled machine. They've kind of always been a high-scoring offense, and they're kind of never really going to change. And LSU last week had a pretty good week. They had a bounce-back week, so I expect this game to be a high-scoring game.
Who did LSU play last week?
I was trying to remember it, but I could not remember it. I'm going to pull it up right now live on the pod. They played Southern Jaguars is what pops up on my end here. So, maybe your middle school team, but they at least got that offense pretty right. But yeah,
I would hope against Southern. Now, Notre Dame probably can't get their offense right against that team.
No, but I guess they cannot.
Yeah.
I'm currently trying to...
I'm making a bet right now, so we're taking the over, correct?
We're taking the over and the LSU Mississippi State game. I'm trying to post it in the chat, but it's not letting me. But we'll figure it out later. But yeah, I like the over in the game. But speaking of the prospects in the game, Kayshon Boutte, who is my little guy, my jersey in the box for this week. I think I had him as my guy in the box week 2 review, I think, or no, week 1 review because he had a horrendous game. But yeah, so Kayshon Boutte is in the box this week. He's the guy I'm watching probably closely this week because I think this is going to be a pretty good matchup for him, and I just want to see him dominate. I want to see him be the number 2 wide receiver prospect in his 23 class. I wanted to see him take over a game. Show me that he should be a top prospect. Show me he should be a number 1 pick in the NFL or first round pick in the NFL. I just want to see it. I haven't seen it yet. I want to see it. All the buzz is around him. I just want to see it with my own eyes.
I don't think you are going to see that this year. The LSU is he doesn't believe in a lot of what's going on there. He's still an NFL guy for me, high NFL guy, probably my wide receiver one, and it's going to stay there. He's going to stay there, but I don't think we're going to see the dominance that we saw from him his freshman year.
So to question that then, David, if he's not going to go out and put it on the field, is that going to hurt him?
It's going to hurt him a little bit NFL wise. He's still going to be late first, early second. And I still think dynasty wise, it won't. People saw him his first few years, the name recognition. He's going to stay. I can't see him dropping too much dynasty drafts. NFL drafts, sure, definitely.
Yeah, speaking of dropping, he right now, I think we talked about it a little bit earlier. We're actually going to talk about it a little bit later, but I think he might be my wide receiver 4 right now in 2023. I really like JSN. Hasn't given me a reason to not make him the number 1 wide receiver. Obviously, he's been injured, and it's not what you want to see. But he hasn't shown me anything bad, so I kind of left him at the number 1 wide receiver spot. I've been the big Jordan Addison guy, so he's my number 2. And David keeps talking up this TSU wide receiver who name is blanking me for some reason. Quentin Johnston.
Who's gonna be? It's gonna be a hard to value because of the quarterback situation.
Yeah, but
so
as a prospect though, he's pretty good. So right now, Boute's kind of like my 3 or 4-ish wide receiver on the year.
I hope everyone has that, is following Junior and does that, because in this year's draft, right, with the quarterbacks, probably 2 or 3. With the running backs and then the wide receivers and Superflex, we're talking about a late first round Superflex pick as the 4th wide receiver in your rankings, who in any other draft is the number 3 or number 4 in a Superflex draft, with 1 or 2 of those being quarterbacks above him.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I said it's a great draft. Do not trade your 23 picks.
And then if we were to compare them to like the QBs and then the running backs, they're probably 9 through 12-ish range, because you're probably taking most of those running backs over some of these wide receivers, especially right now.
You are, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So you might even be able to get a Kayshon Boutte at like the 111.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. What I'm saying. He's a late first Superflex.
Yeah, and Kayshon Boutte in the 22 class this year
would have been.
He's 1-1. He's over Breece Hall.
Yeah.
1-1-1-2 at the worst.
Yeah.
Over Treylon Burks.
Oh, he said, you heard him say it.
Definitely over Treylon Burks. Oh. Why are we wasting airtime on that comment?
Stop hating on my guy, okay?
Come on. No, and he looked good. He's not the prospect of Boutte. He's not.
Yeah, I won't argue that. I love Treylon. That's my guy, but I'm not going to argue the truth.
Yeah, absolutely love it. A couple more games to talk about here before we tune off and go actually watch some football, kicking off at noon. But Miami plays Texas A&M, and there's a couple prospects I just wanted to chat about quick in this game. Tyler Van Dyke kind of had a slow start so far. He's a 23 QB that people were kind of talking up, that he's got a chance to kind of compete for, those Will Levises up there in the 23 class. But he's had a really slow start so far for the U. Going up against Texas A&M, it should be a good matchup, you think? I guess. I don't know. Texas A&M hasn't really showed me much this year to even be one of those. I think they came out the year ranked like 6th or 7th, and now they've dropped down to like 24. But I think it's going to be a good matchup for Van Dyke to show something if he has anything. How do you guys feel about Tyler Van Dyke as a NFL prospect?
David? Go ahead.
He still has my curiosity. He has had a slow start, and I'm not putting him up there with any others. I don't think I've ever made that comment, except for Anthony Richardson, which I was wrong.
I'll go find the receipts later, but go ahead.
But I don't know if I did, Tyler. If I did, maybe I did, because I do have a few CTCs, but I need to see more. I'm a little worried. Speaking of Texas A&M, you didn't hear? Breaking news.
Uh-oh.
Mm.
Their play now and their wins are judged on the NIL money they spent on recruits. They don't really care about winning games. That's just a side thing now.
Yeah.
They get judged on how much NIL money they get give their recruits.
Speaking of NIL money, have you guys heard about this Manning thing with Texas? They end up spending like $280,000 on his like a visiting like weekend thing. That's absolutely insane.
Yeah.
Oh, I heard it was an all one. So
people want
Trey Lance.
People wanted to pay players.
Yeah.
The Van Dyke thing, you guys are 100% right. Slow start. He's being devalued even in the college football side of the fantasy right now. So we'll see where he goes from there. But Junior, I want to talk about the Texas A&M. Two things. One, how much did they pay App State to come in there last week?
It's like 1.3 or 1.5 million dollars or something like that.
Okay. And then two, there was a rumor that there was a Texas A&M running back that was on the 23 radar, but I haven't seen him. Is he on a milk carton somewhere?
Oh yeah, he's stuck somewhere in like a ditch.
Okay.
Running through quicksand, basically trying to get himself started. Yeah, it's tough. And speaking of, I guess we can kind of segue right into it. Devin Achane, 23 running back. I was really excited to watch this year, and he hasn't showed me anything. I don't know. I haven't really gotten the eye test, kind of watch the games and all, but it just seems like they're not giving him the opportunity to kind of get out in space and kind of use his speed to his advantage. It looks like they're kind of using him as that up the middle running back, which he is just not. He's too small to do that, but he's still fast. He's still, I think, decent. I think if anything, even if he has a slow year this year, he can kind of show himself in the combine and kind of raise his draft stock there because I think he will test really well. But yeah, I'm really getting a little down on the Devin Achane side. I know, David, were you kind of like a David Achane guy?
Yeah, I was high on him. Worried as well. But I mean, he still showed enough to come in and be a nice third down role PPR back. You're just kind of hoping more to see him be the guy, possibly that maybe can show he's a first and second down guy too, right? But which is what we want on our dynasty rosters. But he has not shown that up to this point. But that Texas A&M offense has been pretty bad. So
not look good at all.
No. So
another prospect. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, so that brings me to this question then. It's off topic, but you said, he's off to a slow start. Tape doesn't look good, but he can get to the combine, right? Are you a tape guy or are you a numbers guy?
Who's that question for?
Me?
Both of you.
Okay.
Yeah. Or I'm sure it's weighted, but where's my percentage at?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I probably lean more to be a tape guy, but I think you got to take in all aspects of it.
Junior's a smart man.
I'm probably like, if I had to put a percentage on it, maybe like 70-30 tape guy.
Okay.
Probably.
So I use a lot of factors. It's going to be hard to put a percentage on it with everything I use.
Yeah. Off the top of your head.
So film is one. I'll give you all of them. Film is one. Combine is two. I want stats is three. I'm also a combine guy that gives me the analytics. So if we're going to go just narrow it just down to the two, which is, you said film and what?
Combine,
which let's call combine analytics, because that's where you really get your numbers that drives analytics. I'm 50-50.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah.
And then if we're talking before your rookie drafts, I think obviously how high he gets drafted is a big contribution. The team he gets drafted to, the position you expect him to be in. So I think there's a lot of factors you should take in. But yeah, for me, when I'm evaluating prospects and when I do my rankings like beforehand, I'm probably like I lean more towards the tape, but obviously you got to take in contribution to how he actually tests out. Kyren Williams last year.
An example I'll give, because you're going to probably ask, okay, it's 50-50. How does somebody win out when it's 50-50, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not crushing you on this, Junior, because he's a good player. CFF, I like him. Just for Deuce Vaughn, right? I'm watching Deuce Vaughn's tape. I love his tape.
Mm-hmm.
But he's 5'6",
yeah,
or 5'7", 5'8". So the analytics wins out there, right?
Yeah.
So now if we're looking at a 6-foot guy and his film's not good, then the film's going to win out. But let's say, they both are good. You still need to look, hey, what did he actually do as far as stats wise? Because that's important. a guy could come in and run 90 yards and look good on the film, especially with running back with the college where you got 10 running backs, you got 10 wide receivers. They're all rotating in and out, right? So he's not going to dominate. So you got to kind of pull all that together. Sure, that one play on film looks great, right? But what about something else? Because there's only one or two plays. He got 10 carries. It's really hard to judge that off 10 carries.
Okay.
That answer your question there, Joe?
Yes.
All right. Yeah, and then before we move on to the last game, L.J. Johnson, the running back for Texas A&M, it looks like he might even be down to third on the depth chart here. He's kind of falling out of likes with the Texas A&M offense. He was a 24 running back. I was kind of hoping to get some touches this year and kind of put himself kind of on the board about those top 24 running backs. But he really, I think he's gotten like 4 carries these first 2 weeks. It's not even really looking like they want him on the field, so he's definitely not looking like the prospect he kind of wanted him to be. Were either of you guys L.J. Johnson guys before the year, running back for Texas A&M?
I was.
Yeah.
But again, this we've said it before. This comes back. Not every 5-star freshman's going to hit, right? Not like every first round dynasty pick's just not going to hit. You're going to have misses. You're probably going to have more misses than hits.
David, you reading the comments in the chat? Okay.
Now that's what I was going to ask is where is that chat at? 'Cause right now, and I don't want. I'll ask out.
Oh, if you tune in, I can tell you where to find the YouTube.
Stop us because the only chat I see is the one on Zoom.
Yeah. Well, if you wanted to see the chat room, you can tune into the YouTube all formats. There's a link, I believe I sent a link in the main group chat. But yeah, if you want to actually join us on a live, all formats on YouTube, tune in, watch us live. We might try and do these lives, not every Saturday, but most Saturdays, whenever we get the chance to. But yeah, so we're tuning in. We got one more game to talk about here before we kind of tune out, and I am excited to talk about it. USC plays for Fresno State. Another game that's expected to be pretty high scoring, and USC, we talked about last week, they have some of my top prospects and just college football in general. I still think Caleb Williams, he's the obvious QB1 in 2024, and for me, if he was a 2023 prospect, he'd probably be my QB1 as well. I think he's the real deal. I think he's top notch. I think he's a new style of QB, kid who can move a little bit, but sling it as well. Kind of reminds me of like Kyler Murray, but like better, if that makes any sense.
By better, you mean taller?
Taller, better passer, more intuitive, I guess is the word. But Kyler Murray style, but just good in college football. And then Jordan Addison as well. We talked about it before. He right now is my QB2, a wide receiver. If he keeps showing off in this USC offense, and JSN's still hurt and he's not really showing me anything, he might move up to my wide receiver 1, Joe. I love me some Jordan Addison.
So I should go back and revisit that trade I was talking to you guys about earlier in the week.
No,
moving AJ Brown. AJ Brown.
Can't move AJ Brown right now.
Come on.
Cannot move AJ Brown.
That?
Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
But yeah, you guys can go ahead. How do you guys feel? I know we talked about it a little bit, but I'm really high into Jordan Addison. I think, David, do you think he's still a little skinny, a little small? But
what time is this
really
game?
high on him. This is the later game. I believe it's
USC, man.
Yeah, it's like 10 o'clock.
It's California time. Why are you asking that question?
10 o'clock Eastern.
They might be at Fresno State. Who knows? My question is
it Fresno State in California?
Yes, it is.
Isn't that in like Nevada? Anyways, my question is, I'm actually excited to watch a USC game to see what all the hype. Like last time they played, I was so wrapped up in Levis and Richardson, I couldn't even flip over to watch that game. So with the late start, Florida State's already got their W out of the way. By this time, Notre Dame will have their L out of the way. I might tune in and get some full Caleb Williams experience and see the ride and see what all the talk is about. I'm not against them. I do agree. Wide receiver QB1, 24. But I do want to watch a full game and watch him. So this will be something I'm interested in watch. So ask me next week for when we reviewed it or when we do the recap, whatever, Monday or Tuesday night. No, you're at the game Monday. Tuesday night, I want to talk about some Caleb Williams stuff after I watch a full game.
You should talk about Caleb Williams.
We got to talk more about Caleb Williams.
I mean, he's from DMV. Why would you not talk about him?
We still talk about this.
I mean, he was number 1 quarterback in 24 regardless. Now, Drake May and JJ McCarthy may be sneaky though.
Cheeky.
They may
1A,
be-
1B, 1C.
Ooh, they may
By
be
the end of
sneaky.
it.
So I should go acquire some 24 first in my dynasty leagues.
Mozzie.
I mean, you can't. It's not going to be as strong of a draft, but you can.
It's going to be sneaky. It's going to be stronger than this 22.
All right, we're done.
Oh, definitely.
All right, guys. Have a good day.
I think I don't know if this is like a hot take or anything for me, but I think this USC just football team in general has a chance to make it in the college football playoff. Top four team in it so far.
No.
You don't think so?
So
they can't have one loss because Alabama will just jump them. So,
and the
I mean,
problem
who's
with
going to beat them?
not Notre Dame.
No. So the problem with USC is sure they got all these transfers that are at the skill position. In the long run, their lines, offensive line, defensive line, still need to be built up. And they're gonna get that from recruiting. So I can see two losses, or one loss will be a different conversation, maybe playoff, but I doubt it. It's at least two losses. And for them to be a playoff conversation, to actually get in the playoffs and win, even though we're letting everybody in now, I guess. So we're going to be like up to 16 teams here soon. But it's here or there, I guess. But they're a year or two away once they get the offense and defensive lines built up.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Looking ahead at their schedule, looks like they play Utah October 15th. Utah's a pretty good football team, and then they play Notre Dame at the end of the year. Those look like probably
that Notre Dame
matchups.
game's going to be a blowout. That's at
Yeah.
USC this year, right? Because they finish on California.
Yes.
They rotate between USC and Stanford. It'll be a blowout.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Another guy on USC who's kind of playing really well so far this year is that Mario Williams, another wide receiver. I believe he is a 24 guy.
Yep.
He's got a nice build to him. He's a little shorter, I believe. I don't have his stats right above me. He might be like 6 foot, maybe like 5'11". But I think he's built pretty well, and he looks really good. He's had some pretty good games so far for USC.
Oh,
I'm excited to see him so far. Did we just get the official numbers?
We can stop talking about Mario Williams.
5'10".
5'9".
Yeah, he did look a little small. I think he's a good player though.
You're so angry about height. How tall are you, David?
So right now I'm putting it down on my notepad because I saw Mario Williams. I saw him play past couple years. He is now on the 24 list, the cross list,
The do not drive list?
the do not
The
draft
blacklist.
Okay, at
Damn.
5'9", unless he grows 2 more inches or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, thanks. Shout out to the chat. Fresno State is in California. So listener criminal. All right, go
We
ahead.
got our geographical.
You know what? I got that off to the side here. I see y'all got that. You had to open up the YouTube thing. I didn't have the YouTube thing up, and I paused it to that boy in the bottom middle. Boy, that's a handsome looking guy right there. Woo-hoo-hoo. Hoping my wife don't see that and have too many women tune into this.
Yo, anybody still out there in the chat? Let him know how handsome he is.
Yeah. I don't know if that's our demographic, but we'll see later on.
Probably not.
Yeah. I threw this Jake Hader name in. He's a QB for Fresno State. I think he's interesting. I think for the CFF side, just kind of like football wise. But I know David's gonna say he's small, and he is small. And I don't think he's an NFL prospect either. But I think he's an interesting name to talk about for just college football. I think he ran a pretty good offense there for Fresno State the past couple of years. How do you guys feel about Jake Hader, QB Fresno State?
He falls into that Devin Leary
He's a 23
zone
guy.
for me. Yeah, he's 6'1", just like Devin Leary, and I he puts up big CFF numbers. I got him on a couple C2C rosters.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so he'll get drafted. I mean, if Baker Howell can get drafted, other quarterbacks can get drafted.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, sorry. I'm just checking my fan tracks to see how many shares of Hainer I got. Oh, there's one right there.
How well are those teams doing?
Oh,
Do you
I don't
want to
see
talk about it, or
I don't see how that's relevant to the conversation. I'm not the one promoting myself as the champion of all champions like David is. But no, I'm at 3 C2Cs on the college side. Week 1, I went 3-0. Week 2, I went 0-3. So we'll see how it is this week.
So we got a good thing in chat that someone did say, and I do definitely agree. The height and weights are not official until the combine. Very good point. I just have a hard time that someone goes to the combine and they're listed as 5'9", all of a sudden 6'2". Woo, we got to start asking some questions.
Yeah. Like, what happened?
Are we using that? You know, that little baby things that the baby step on to get up to the person. Are we using that to measure them? I mean, come on.
Little stepping stool.
Yeah, stepping stool.
Yeah.
My goodness. All right. Well, that brings us to the end of what I had written up for the week 3 preview. Is there anything you guys want to talk about that I did not have written in here? Any matchups you're excited to watch? Any players you want to talk about a little bit?
I think Dave should talk about.
Open.
I think Dave should talk about that very last comment in the chat right there. Just see if he wants to bring anything up about that.
Oh no,
Big quad guy. Yeah.
Okay.
So, David, in percentages, how much does quad size factor into your prospect scouting?
don't
Gotta be 15% or more.
At least 10%.
No.
So you're telling me you see these running backs with them thick thighs, and you don't get excited?
Don't even look at them. Don't even look at them.
No,
Yeah.
David,
Yeah.
who did you just tell me you need to get more shares of on NFL side?
No, that's a different question. I'm not saying that because of his quads.
He wants more Dylans. He wants more quad
I do
fathers.
want some more AJ.
Gotta get
quads.
some AJ.
Don't
Dillon.
have enough. He's gonna take that job.
So to answer your question, Junior, I don't have anything else for college this week. We hit a lot of the guys that I'm really interested in seeing. Maybe one other note is we didn't talk much about Haynes King. When are we going to see the freshmen there? Are we going to see them this year?
You missed that announcement, right?
Yeah. Oh, well, what happened?
The Johnson kid starting instead of King.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah,
Didn't I believe Kane started last week and he did not look too good.
yeah.
If I remember correctly.
Yeah. I just knew his days were numbered. So
Yeah.
Yeah, King is not starting anymore.
Was he another 5-star?
He was.
Yeah. Or is he like one of those high-end 4s? I'm looking it up quick. Luxury of being live. Don't edit it out.
Yeah.
I got you. 247. Love this place. He was, high-end 4. It's tough. You hate to see it.
He was a high end 4, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not bad.
all right.
Yeah, so that brings us to the end of our first live. Going live on YouTube. I believe this was a pretty good success. This was really fun to do. I appreciate you guys tuning in, everybody who's watched, everybody who's already left.
I would say so.
everybody who's
I
commented.
made some great points, I think.
Yeah. David was on fire today. Joe's mic worked perfectly this
Yes.
time. The audio
This mic is
turned
great.
out
Hey,
That's what it's all about.
we need that
That's
same
what it's all
audio
about.
for the podcast.
Yeah,
That
top-
same audio.
Top-notch
Oh.
We need
producing.
that feature for the audio
Wow.
podcast. I like
Yeah.
it.
Just the
Wow.
highest level quality podcasting here with the all formats. Can't get nothing else. You tune in, you might not be able to hear all of us. That's just the fun of tuning in to this all formats podcast.
Yeah.
Is if you're sick of hearing Joe's hot takes, guess what? You don't have to hear him because he can't talk.
And I can't argue with David about how wrong he is. I hear you. Hey, look on the bright side. Unlike David, so if they can't hear me, I can't be wrong.
Yeah, that's
imagine
right.
if
You're right.
David's mic was broken when he was talking about Richardson.
Hey, and you
Yeah.
We
can't
would
say,
never know.
you can't say
Kendall
people,
Milton.
you can't say people's wrong names.
Can't mispronounce,
Yeah.
Coral.
Whoa, don't be hating on Matt Coral.
Yeah, my goodness. But thanks you guys for tuning in. We actually got one final comment before we leave. Last year I wanted all of Dylan, and I'm pretty sure the 3 of you shredded me.
All right, so we're done here, right?
Yeah, so all right, guys.
right.
We'll see
Good
you
job.
guys.
Good job.
Man,
Oh, man. So-
that's tough. We don't have to get into the Fab talk or anything. We can tune this out before we get going.
Yeah, we don't want David going off the rails again because we'll be into the 2 and 3 o'clock games at that point.
Yeah, if you want to hear David's hot takes about Fab in general, tune into the Start Sit podcast. Just got posted. All formats. Start sits for the week 2 of NFL football. So tune into that pod. That pod just dropped, and this will be up as like a YouTube video you can watch back as well if you want to, hear the great quality auto of Joe and get the receipts for David's hot takes this year about Anthony Richardson and all that. So thank you guys for tuning in. We appreciate everybody coming in and out, whether you're here still or if you were here before. We really appreciate it. Subscribe, like the video, tune in to see some of the other videos we posted so far. There's a couple videos up there about the first couple weeks of college football. But yeah, thank you guys for tuning in. Really appreciate it. Go watch some football this weekend.
Yes.
Just enjoy yourself. Watch some football. Hang out with some friends. Get some wings. Get some beer. Let's watch some football this weekend. All right. Thank you guys, and I think this is going to be out for us. So